The business is never ending the same way the process is also never ending. When I say it's a process, planning is always continuous. Now, whenever we plan, we are supposed to have more alternative course of action. When you have more alternative course of action, it is very advisable for you people to examine all the alternative courses and then choose any one course of action. Hello everybody, a warm welcome to one and all. I'm Vidhyaashram from the Department of Commerce and Management in Vidhyaashram First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence. Welcome to the session 2, chapter 3. The chapter 3 is all about planning, and you will understand what exactly planning is. In the session 1, I've told you the introduction of planning and we went with the steps that is involved in the planning process. Today we'll go with one more topic, that is characteristics of planning. Students, you have read in your second PUC what are the features of planning. Now, the features and the characteristics are both the same, but you need to know that in your undergraduate, you are supposed to know more about planning. So, the first point here is planning is goal-oriented. Now, you know that planning is one of the functions of management, and that too, it is a primary functions of management. Here, you need to understand why is there a plan and why we need to plan. Now, when you understand why there is a plan and why we need to plan, that is, then you will understand that we only plan to achieve the goal, and planning is always a goal-oriented process. Second one is planning is a primary function. Now, primary function for what? Primary function of management. If you understand the management, that is the functions of management, if you go with it, the first primary is only what? Your planning. So planning is first, or the plan, or a primary function. After that, you will actually get, next will be organizing, and then we have is our staffing. Later we'll go with the next process, that is directing, and lastly we have is controlling. What is this? Controlling. So these are the functions of management. In that, what happened? Functions of management. In that, planning is the primary function of functions of management. Next is planning is all pervasive. When I say planning is all pervasive, you need to know the meaning of pervasive means universally accepted. Everybody uses planning for the day-to-day activity or for a business, for any kind of a thing, economic or non-economic activity. Planning is a mental exercise. It's more of mental exercise than physical exercise. The reason here is you need to put more strategies. You need to go with the decision making. You are supposed to plan the future. You need to predetermine what will happen. And then that is how you require a lot of mental exercises. And planning is not done just like that. Planning is done by taking more time and then analyzing each and everything, doing a proper market research, doing a proper market survey, and then coming to a conclusion, and then you will go with planning. That is why it is more of mental exercise. And lastly, we have is planning is a continuous process. What is it? Planning is a continuous process. So firstly, we have planning is a goal oriented. Then we understood that planning is a primary functions of management. Planning is all pervasive. Then we have planning is mental exercise, and the last one here is planning is a continuous process. But students, I'll tell you more about the characteristics of planning which you have not learned in your PU. Now, these are the things which you are supposed to know. The first one here is planning involves choice. Now, here what happens is, whenever we plan, now we have understood steps in planning process. Now, whenever we plan, we are supposed to have more alternative course of action. When you have more alternative course of action, it is very advisable for you people to examine all the alternative courses and then choose any one course of action. Now, how will you do it? You will examine them. And how exactly you will do it? You will evaluate which will be the best course of action, and then you will take. That's why planning involves choice. Next we have is planning is forward looking. Planning is always future course of action. It is always about predetermining the future and what will happen. So planning is always like you are planning for tomorrow, but you are doing it today. Planning is flexible. But let me tell you here, when I go with flexibility, planning is flexible until you don't execute it. But once you execute it, planning becomes rigid. But until you don't execute, you can alter any types of plan. That is what planning is flexible. Then we have planning is an integrated process. It is not interdependent or it is not dependent. It is integrated, right? It involves everything. And the last one here, which you people need to know, is planning includes two things. That is, one is efficiency and another is effectiveness dimension. So the way you have management has a multi-dimension, planning also is a multi-dimension where there are two dimensions. One is efficiency. When you go with efficiency, you need to understand that efficiency without effectiveness is bad. Effectiveness without efficiency is also bad. So two of the dimensions you are supposed to maintain, that is efficiency as well as effectiveness. So these things you have not studied in your PU. The first starting, which I told you, it is all about the repetition of what you learned already in PU. That is the basic of the characteristics of planning. So please understand there are 10 points here totally, 5 plus 5, and this topic is for 15 marks or it can come for 10 marks in your main examination. So listen to the section properly. First one, as we went with, planning is all about what? Goal oriented. Planning is goal oriented, that is, all plans arise from object. When you go with that, you already learned setting of the steps involved in planning process. Now the first and ultimate is what? Establishing objective. Now why is that you will establish objective? That is what? To achieve the goal, and that's why planning is always what? To achieve those objectives. Objectives provide the basic guidelines for planning. So objective, see, what is your objective in your life? Only that will give a guidelines to plan. That is, okay, what type of plan should I do, right? Planning has no meaning unless it contributes in some positive manner. See, something should be benefited, right? That is what, when you plan, you are supposed to gain something. If you don't do that or if you don't gain it, whatever you have planned is a waste. To achievement of predetermined goals. Now this objective is also what? Predetermined goal. Next one is planning is a primary function. Planning is the foundation. Please understand the first one. I gave you the diagram also, that is the functions of management, where planning becomes the foundation for all other functions of management. It is a parent exercise in management process. It is a preface to business activities. Without that, you cannot start any kind of business activity. Intuitions, let's go with this example, right? Even if you have your gut feeling or intuition, still what happens is, to know that whether it will work out or not, you will again plan. So that's the reason planning is all pervasive. Planning is all pervasive. Now understand what exactly the pervasive is. I told you pervasive means universally accepted. Planning is a function of all managers. That means everybody does it. Now just to extend to it, I'll tell you, we go with non-economic activity. That is your parents, right? Treating you, feeding you. Again, even they are doing planning, right? How they are supposed to get you educated, what exactly your career planning should be. Now, everywhere planning is needed. It is needed and practiced at all managerial level. When I say levels of management, top level, middle level, supervisory level, all the levels of management, planning will be practiced. Planning is inherent in everything a manager does. Managers have to perform, or managers have to plan before launching a new business. Now, when a new business comes, the business will not come just like that. You are supposed to know who's your competitor, what are your competitors doing, what is the price of your competitor products, Now, all those things you will go. That's the reason, students, planning is always what? Time consuming, and planning is expensive. Though both these characters, they come in the limitations of planning, but I'll tell you here, you need to understand why it is time consuming. Because if you just take a little time and then you plan, I'll tell you it will not be a success. Now let's go for an example. Like the last session, I gave you an example of cricket, right? Now, when you plan for it, when you select a team for playing against somebody, the selector board is there. There is a line of chain of management where people will scrutinize each and every player. Now data will be collected. Now all these things, why is that they are doing it? So that India should win and they should come. But there is a demerit of planning. Even you have taken the best of the best, right? But still they lost to Australia. The reason is what? All plans will not lead to success. Now, planning is mental exercise. Why it is a mental exercise? Because it is a mental process involving in it. That is imagination, foresight, and sound judgment. So, these are the three things which you people will take, that is while you are doing a plan. The first thing here is you will imagine the future. If I do it, what will happen? You'll foresight what will happen if I go with these things. What will not happen? What is the later effect of it? Then you will go with what? A sound judgment. Yes, I will do it. Yes, I will not do it. Again, that is also a planning. Planning compels managers to abandon guesswork and wishful thinking. So when you go with this planning, what happens is the manager cannot go with the guesswork, right? Or the wishful thinking that this can happen. When you plan, those things will definitely be absent. Next we have is planning is a continuous process. Planning involves choice and planning is a forward looking. I'll tell you here what exactly this planning is, a continuous process. After one plan is done, you have achieved a goal. Will the company or whether the human being will stop planning? The question is, will they stop planning after they achieve something? No. The reason is the business is never ending, the same way the process is also never ending. When I say it's a process, planning is always continuous. Planning is continuous. It is a never ending activity. Once plans for a specific periods are prepared, they are translated into action. Now let's go with an example of Tata Motors or Tata Company. J.R.D. Tata, he started this company in 19th century. When he died, did the business die? No. Somebody else took over it. The reason is what? Planning was involved. So the legacy will be maintained. The reason is planning is never ending. Now planning involves choices. Planning essentially involves choice among various alternative course of action. For this you need to watch the session 1 so that you will get a clear idea what is alternative course of action. And lastly we have in this is planning is forward looking. Planning means looking ahead. That is, it is only because of the future thinking planning is always valid. And preparing for the future. It means peeping into the future, analyzes it and preparing for it. That's why I always tell you students what it is. You need to oversee, you need to have a vision, you need to have a mission, you need to see the future, what exactly can it be. Now for that, what is that? You can go for it. Future is uncertain. Yes, it is true, it is uncertain. Whatever we think, it may not happen, but 80 to 85%, let's go for an average, it may not happen, but remaining 15% is that it may happen. So we can go with those 15% at least and think these are the things and I am supposed to prepare for it. So start thinking 5 years down the line what you want to be in life. Whether you want money, whether you want prestige, whether you want royalty, whether you what exactly you want in your life, you plan for it. There are many students, there are many there who don't even know what exactly they want in their life. I have seen people who are in the age of 40, 50, when I ask them what exactly you wanted in life, they say nothing. And that nothing is not a plan. They didn't plan properly. Now what happens is whatever life wants them to do it, they are doing it. But don't be that person. You should be a person where you want something from life and life should give it to you. That is how you are supposed to be. Take it, grab it, use the opportunity. That is what I always tell all my students. Next one we have is planning is flexible. Planning is flexible. Now planning is based on a foresight, that is forecast of future events. Since future is uncertain, plan should be reasonably flexible. But I told you before that once you plan something and when you go for it, in the middle, though uncertainty happens, the future is unseen, we can't predict about it, what happens is we need to have a room for flexibility. But usually I'll tell you, out of 100, say 95%, the flexibility will not be there. Now, but the 5% flexibility you are supposed to maintain whenever you plan for it. I'll give you an example of this. Now take all top companies who are listed in Nifty 50, that is in the stock exchange, say public companies, right? Now they are doing really good and they are being listed in Nifty, that is the National Stock Exchange. And that's why they are called as Nifty 50. And the index of the stock exchange of NSE is called Nifty. Now please understand this. All 50 people, whoever you go for a proper portfolio management, when you understand that, because of this pandemic, right, COVID-19, all the top 50 companies who are doing really good, they have come down. Now the question is, planning is all about future course of action. Planning is determining the future. It is overlooking all these things. But none of them, or even I can say that the entire world couldn't see that there will be a virus which will come and all the business will have a problem. Now, if I say planning was flexible and they did it, no. Planning was not at all flexible, it was rigid. Now, whatever they had their vision and mission, it couldn't happen and they halted those plans. They discontinued those plans. It did not become flexible, right? They discontinued. That's why I always tell 5% of flexibility you can attain, but not more than 5%. And we have planning is an integrated process. I told you about what exactly this integrated is all about. Plans are structured in a logical way wherein every lower level plans serve as a means to accomplish higher level plans. That means here what happens is the lower level plan serves as a means to accomplish, when I say whatever is planned by the top level management, the top level management make sure that the lower level get those plans done efficiently and effectively. And the thing is, last one, efficiency and effectiveness dimension. Plans aim at deploying resources economically and efficiently. That means what happens is when you plan properly, you will actually get something called optimum utilization. Optimum utilization. Of what? Of resources. Resources. That is what the planning is all aiming at. They also try to accomplish what has been actually targeted. Now, the top level management would have a targeted kind of objective or a goal. Now, that will be achieved only when you plan properly and you go with those plans. But nothing should happen with the macroeconomy and the microeconomy. Then you can achieve whatever it is. But what happens in businesses totally depend on macro environment than micro environment. That is, business is dependent on the entire market. Now, market, how it is totally volatile because it depends on the customer's mindset, trend, and fashion. So these are the characteristics of planning. Hope you have understood. You know what exactly you are supposed to do. Like, share, and subscribe to the Vidhyaashram channel. Thank you so much. I'll see you when I see you. Thank you so much.